朋友，大家好，欢迎收看新一期的对话华尔街，我是 Chloe。上周，习近平主席访美行程落下帷幕，取得的几乎涉及中美关系所有领域的49项成果，可以说是颇为丰富，这也超出了绝大多数人的预期。在今天的节目中，我们请到了本次西雅图行程的参会代表，在中美政治与经贸领域工作20年的 KPMG 中国管理咨询合伙人方大伟。以下是我们的专访部分。Thank you, David, to join with us, and nice to meet you. How are you?
Delighted to be here today. Thank you.
You're working for the China and U.S. cross-border industries for several years. So just give us some thoughts on your opinions, the Xi's visits to the States.
Okay, well, I think it's been a really creative and unique visit. It's taken some different turns than we've seen in the past with Chinese leaders. First of all, the very fact that they're stopping in Seattle for a business-oriented dialogue prior to going to Washington. I think this was a great agreement between the countries to start that way. We know that the political dynamic is very difficult. Certainly the military dynamic, we even more difficult. Yet commercial is a great area for the two countries to really work on increasing understanding, increasing business prospects between the countries. And so I think it was a very, very astute political move to start with commercial. And we saw that through some of the agreements that have been enacted already coming out of Seattle.
The Chinese entrepreneurs and with the U.S. side, they signed a great deal about purchasing the Boeing, the aircraft. So in your regard, what do you think about the Sino and U.S. tradings in which kind of specific industry for improving the corporations?
Every economy goes through ups and downs, and Xi himself has said on this trip that we're experiencing, the Chinese economy is clearly experiencing a downturn, but that doesn't mean there aren't sectoral opportunities, as you point out, Chloe. So some of the sectors, you mentioned Boeing earlier. We were with Boeing leadership prior to the trip and heard about their projection for the Chinese aircraft market over the next 20 years. It's an astounding, eye-catching number of nearly $1 trillion. I think they in fact say $950 billion over the next 20 years for the aircraft market, of which Boeing can clearly have a very significant share. Interestingly also, although in the headlines we see so much challenging language about the technology companies, the fact that they went to Seattle, which is such a great haven for technology companies for the United States, Microsoft, Amazon, chief among them, but the whole ecosystem that sprouts up around that, that was a clever choice as well. We saw industrial deals with Boeing. We saw partnerships with Cisco and Inspur and what they've announced in the advanced networking space.
Any particular cases you want to mention?
Sure. So what we've seen in, for example, the May 2015 Chinese hospital reform guidelines that come out in advance of the 13th five-year plan, which won't come to us until early in 2016, we've seen a big focus on hospital public infrastructure, and clearly the government is asking for help. They're opening that sector toward private infrastructure investment and even to foreign capital participation in that process according to the guidelines. Now, of course, details to be determined, but it does look like an area where China's saying we do need help in this area. We would like foreign capital and we'd like foreign technology and know-how as well.
We noted that President Xi gave a kind of the reaction on the Chinese stock market before his trip to the States and telling the WSG something about how to give a confidence to the Chinese market as well as the Chinese economy. And in this regard, do you think the CNY devaluation is a matter to the global financial market?
Yeah, sure. I think clearly we've seen in the last couple of months the effect that events in China, financial and economic events, can have on world markets. Clearly they're substantial. As I mentioned earlier, I think sometimes there's some overreaction at a surface level. Markets are smart, but they're not always all-knowing. That's for sure. I think we've seen while there's no doubt that the influence of China's impact on the world economy has increased incredibly in the last decade, it is a global portfolio economy. Chinese demand is not going to fall through the floor. I think President Xi has done a good job as a public leader to try and re-emphasize that. Also, we have some cultural differences as well. We see lots of red numbers behind us here today, with the stock market down a fair bit in New York today, but in China, red is a good color. So there's also some cultural nuances that need to be worked out between countries and economies. And so perhaps we're beginning to see some commentary that perhaps there's an area of agreement and perhaps space for both countries if in fact some opening of thinking on the TPP and China's position there, as well as some opening of thinking on the AIIB and U.S. thinking there could potentially be a face-saving way for the two countries to come together on both these matters, but that's speculation.
So in a short conclusion, what's your expectations of what kind of agreement you look forward both sides can deal with?
Well,
during the Xi's visit.
Yeah, I think we've seen some great base agreements with what we've seen from Boeing, what we've seen from Cisco, Inspur. I think we've seen some great dialogue from Disney, IBM, and Dow in the speaking elements that were confidential, but arranged between 15 leading Chinese CEOs and leading American CEOs. I think those were picked specifically areas of entertainment, technology, and industry for future progress.
Thank you so much for sharing your views on these topics. Thank you, David.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
有人不禁问道：现如今中美关系最大的挑战在哪里？冷战时期的美苏关系，一战以后英美霸权的自然切换，甚至强权之间必有一战的修昔底德陷阱等历史模式，似乎都无法解释眼下的中美关系。因此，答案是没有任何的历史智慧和经验可以借鉴。但是，或许正是这种前无古人后无来者的新型大国关系，才尚需时日令双方互相理解。但从经济利益上考量，中美两国相互依存，美国人离不开中国的商品，而中国则需要美国的科技创新。尽管本次习近平主席访美只有短短的几天时间，但中美两国关系在深度和广度上都获得了积极进展，在双边、地区、全球层面的务实合作也取得了颇丰的成果，这为建设新型的国际合作做出了重要的表率。好，感谢您的收看，我是 Chloe， 在华尔街纽交所为您报道。